I think we are on. Hello, hello, and welcome to Thursdays at 11 o'clock, Qualified Tutors Conversations between our members, bringing the thoughts of professional tutors together, forward, and to the wider community. I can tell you that people contact me throughout the week nowadays telling me that they watched or listened to these conversations on YouTube and Spotify, and it caused them to want to reach out because they wanted to participate, not just in the thinking, but also in the feeling of being part of something that's making a difference and that helps every day. We have lots and lots of new members coming in at the moment, which is such an excitement. And I wish I knew why. I wish I knew why. Hi, Nicola. But what it's doing is it's giving an additional layer to these conversations where some people are having well-worn thoughts, well-developed thoughts, and other people are exploring for the first time. And that really develops our opportunity to support and mentor each other as peers. And as you know, in Qualified Tutor, we say that we tutors must be colleagues and not competitors if we are going to be serving our students well. And so these opportunities for more experienced tutors to point the way to the newbies amongst us becomes really, really valuable. So in this conversation today, until more people come in, Nicola, my darling, you're the newbie. And so I'm going to be leaning on you in this conversation and actually drawing out the thinking from the other people in the room, and sort of using my knowledge of what they do and how they work to bring out some themes. So our topic today is the seasonal nature of tutoring, and I just posted in the community I love my GIFs. A GIF of a roller coaster, in the first person. So that feeling of being on the roller coaster, which I think is what we expect from a tutoring life. We expect there to be really busy times, which tend to be leading up to exams in most cases. And we expect there to be quiet times, such as the summer or the winter holidays. The reason why I've chosen this topic right now is because since we are in half term of the second term of the year, the young people are revising and the tutors who are supporting them are gearing up for their busiest time of year. Those peaks and troughs can be an asset, but they can also be a liability. And there are risks associated with not knowing where your income's coming from in the summer. But equally, there are strategies to help to mitigate for those highs and lows. And some of you are going to say, actually, it's really, really helpful for me to have a 6-week rest after the exam sprint. And others will say, actually, I've worked out how to supplement my income within tutoring or outside of tutoring in order to manage those peaks and troughs because I need a consistent income. I really think that this is one of the key barriers to success in tutoring, this seasonal nature. But because of the oh, look at you with your lemsip. But because of the nature of online tutoring, there are so many more ways for us to create that portfolio of incomes. Can you just tell me, can you hear the dog's toy? Okay, so she's picked up the noisiest toy in the house and she's squeaking and rattling it right next to me. So I'm going to keep shouting. And if you get uncomfortable, please let me know because that means that Zoom's not filtering it out. So
like a seesaw that needs oiling.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. But it's actually a butterfly that's being ripped to pieces. Either way, I'm going to go on mute. And I'm going to ask Dee to tee us off with that idea of the roller coaster of peaks and troughs in the seasons.
Well, when I came into tutoring as a need for income 5 years ago, I don't think I'd really thought all of this through. I'd taken redundancy and I needed some money to come in. And I was just kind of finding my way, bit in the dark, some useful conversations meant I had got a small amount of regular income from working with home educated students through a charity. I was already doing little bits of tutoring. I'd put a Facebook post out. I'd pulled in some students. And then I realized that, yeah, I was going to need to do more. And I was lucky enough to reach out to another colleague I knew through my time at the Maritime Academy to be able to do one-to-one meteorology. And that was my main income stream for about 7 or 8 months as I was trying to establish myself as a maths tutor as well. And I think for me, it's actually been about a mindset that it is going to be up and down, not just through the course of the year, but it's this coming up towards the end of the year and knowing that the year 11s will disappear and I've got gaps that I might want to fill, and that anxiety as we go into the summer. And I didn't have it last year because I was so established that actually I was able to fill those gaps without even really trying particularly hard. But I think it is about accepting that it is going to be a roller coaster and just go with it. I'm in a very different situation to a lot. I'm older. I'm at retirement age, effectively. I wasn't expecting to do this long term. I probably am going to because I'm having so much fun and possibly doing quite a good job. But there are others I know in the community who are younger, have stepped away from perhaps the classroom, are now trying to establish themselves as tutors, and navigating all of that is much, much more scary than perhaps it is for me.
Great place to pause. Thank you. Nicola, would you mind speaking to the scary?
Hi, yeah. Sorry, I've got my headphones and I'm realizing I can't tell the volume of my own voice. Can everyone hear me?
You're totally fine.
Yeah, I suppose my my fear, like the scary is it can't be removed from my personal circumstances of like kind of not being where I'm from and being like in Vietnam and trying to like live a slightly transient lifestyle and speak completely frankly, like being flung into a situation sooner than I expected. Like, I know I shared some of this context with you, Julia, but and maybe a couple of other people I've chatted to. But yeah, like my husband and I were looking to make a career change. So he's doing like a virtual master's in psychology. I knew eventually I wanted to set up as a tutor and freelancer, but I just thought, oh, I'll take my time and build that up over X amount of time. We moved to Dubai in September, thinking, okay, can we like have an adventure, but also work for a few years, get some money behind us, and see how that goes. But unfortunately, things just did not work out at the school that I moved to, because in Dubai, like your contract, your visa, your everything is tied up with the one school. So it really was like cut and run and just see where we could get to. So I don't really have as many resources or kind of like things behind me as I would like to. So it is very much like, let's give it a few months, see if it can work, and then if not, we'll go live with Dylan's parents for a few weeks in the UK and figure it out from there. Like, so I think we're doing our very best to breathe through the discomfort of it and like trying to find moments to be confident and back ourselves. And like had some like a work offer come through in Hanoi today, just as like literally Wednesday mornings at a university. So I'm really hoping that that's like, because it's something, it's not it's not going to pay our rent fully, but it's like it's these little nuggets of kind of hope and excitement that are coming through that go, what, like people will want to give me opportunities because I'll push for it. But yeah, so it's trying to trust the process. I think, Dee, maybe it was you that I was talking to where you were. No, I think it was another conversation I had. Someone sort of said it's like trusting the process and trusting in yourself as well. And like, yeah, there's a lot there, but I think that's pretty much the gist of where I'm at.
There's a lot there. And the only thing that I'm gonna point back to you is when you said that you don't have resources right now. Well, you do. You do. And I hope you felt that already, in your first week of qualified tutor membership. There is so much resource in terms of finding work and keeping work. in this community. And I really hope that you lean into it, because, you know, that's what it's there for. I have to welcome Mel back, because I haven't seen you for a while, my lovely. And that smile just makes my heart sing. How are you doing?
I'm good. I've been through a few battles health-wise, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm at a place now where we're going to be moving into another house. My husband's retiring, and when he retires, I'm going to start stepping up with my tutoring.
Fantastic.
Because I'm 10 years younger than him.
Okay, that's well done for clarifying that. So Mel, we're talking at the moment about the seasons of tutoring. I'm going to go to Margaret Mary and then come back to you. Your specialisms are more in early years and in alternative provision. And so that means that your seasons are different to those of us who are working in secondary exams. You can take one look at Helen and know exactly where she's up to in the seasons of tutoring. I know, my lovely. So Margaret Mary, over to you.
Yeah, yes, it is seasonal. But I think because of the way I am with my health, I've kind of working on I don't know, a lower level. It's less intense than at school. So I'm kind of creating, or have created, a working life, or a life that I don't need to take a break from, because actually taking a break is a lot of aggravation for me. So I'm kind of, although my working day spreads out over the whole day, I have lots of intervals in between to rest, because actually that's what I need to do. When it comes to school holidays, so I work with kids that are doing exams and they want a particular thing. And I kind of, unless I'm doing something that I need to not tutor. So if I am going away, and I'll tell them in advance I'm not going to be around next week, or like today I'm involved in a charity event, so I'm kind of reschedule. So unless I'm actually taking the time off myself, I'm kind of open to what they want. Some students during the holidays take a break. So I have a few that take a break. Some students during the holidays want extra time, so they can book directly on my calendar. I've got a lot of students now, been full for a while, and I'm turning people away. But the one thing that I found, because it was terrifying to start off with, but the one thing that I found, as soon as I lose a student, within 24 hours, every single time I've had another inquiry, every single time. So that's kind of given me a confidence, I suppose. If I lose a student, or at the end of exam time, when I lose a bunch of students, I just go, okay. And they come rolling in. Already I've got some that I've said, well, I can't offer you space until the exams are over. And they says, okay. The other thing that I do, which I think works for me, is someone who's like that, who has an early inquiry. And I say, well, I can't give you a regular slot, because I use Calendly, and I say, I can give you something flexible. Because again, I found early on that I might say, well, I think to start with, it was 10 students that I needed, and was all I felt I could cope with. But I found I was regularly getting 2 cancellations a week. So I thought, well, okay, I want to up that to 12. I can probably manage 12, but chances are I'll only have to do 10 in a week. I'm doing more than that now, as my management of my health has improved. But so I have this kind of minimum, maximum, and optimum that I kind of work within during the week. But I found that offering someone a flexible slot sometimes will get them on board. So the one I've picked up this week, I offered her a flexible slot. She says, okay, we'll take that until June. And then before I actually did the call with them, which was yesterday, another student said, we don't want tutoring anymore. So immediately I said, well, I've got a slot available if you can do it. And they've gone for that. So that has given me confidence. Sometimes during the holidays, I get like casual students. I'm open to them as well. So I might get a parent will say, well, we just want a few lessons during the holidays as a boost to prepare for the exam. So I'm open to that. And just thinking about what Nicola said, it is about, I think it's partly about every opportunity potentially leads to more in the future. Things that I've done, I was offered some writing for the Cambridge International exam prep book, which I did. But through that, I was tutoring for a Chinese school, and they said, do you know anything about the Cambridge International? I said, well, yeah, I'm involved in this writing. So they've got me on board as their head teacher, which I think is really funny. But it's more like a consultancy. So they got Cambridge International approval, and it's like everything you say yes to potentially leads to other stuff further down the line, and you don't know what that is. I know when I posted on LinkedIn, I put when the book came out, I put it out just as a post on LinkedIn, and I got 3 inquiries within 24 hours. So I actually, to every opportunity to say yes to, you don't know where it's going to lead, and it's about what works for you, really. Yeah, over the summer my income drops, but it doesn't go down completely, because some students want to catch up between year 12 and year 13.
Right.
And it's just
Margaret
about
Mary,
managing it.
that was stunning, and there's so much there. And for me, what I really felt as you were saying it was that you've created this balance so that your peaks and troughs aren't too extreme, because you can't risk the extreme peaks because the recovery takes too long. And I think that there's so much wisdom in that then what's going on is those little bits of work and those slight adjustments create this steadiness for you that's really palpable, because the confidence is really palpable. And I'm chuffed that you mentioned that about I don't think it's exactly Richard Branson's point about say yes and work it out later. I think that's a different thing. That's like that sort of stretch yourself thing. What you're more saying, I think, is be open to opportunities because they don't know where they're going to take you. So Nicola's small thing at a university will lead to speaking to the right people and showing what she can do and building her confidence, and will have a spillover effect that is right now completely unpredictable. But like Dee said, when you show up and do your best work every time and believe in yourself, you never know what's going to come out of it. So that becomes, and I think that never comes up in any of our curricula. It doesn't come up in school, and it doesn't come up in university, and it doesn't come up in any kind of professional training to say, have a go, because you never know what's going to come out of it. And I think those of us who sort of follow the education track never have the opportunity to learn that nugget of you can create opportunities if you just continue to show up and have a go. And because it's a business practice that we're just translating it into the educational space. I know that when I left my school leadership role, I had this real sense that I have no idea what's coming next. I have no idea what the landscape's going to bring. And that's exciting and terrifying. And that's what my roller coaster looked like. But I really think that what you're going to hear in this conversation, and Nicola, I did warn you, I'm going to pull on you for this a lot, because it gives me a chance to sort of model the differences, right, that are going on around here. So I'm going to call on Mel next, and then Claudine, I'm going to call on you. I was so chuffed when you arrived, because there's something specific that you do that's actually inspired this session. So I really, really want to hear about that. Mel, over to you.
Hello. So you wanted to find out what things kind of are like.
The seasons. What are the seasons?
Right. Okay. So for me, it's a really funny situation I'm in now. I'm soon to have, probably by the summer, a hip replacement. So that has kind of made a lot of things I can't do. A lot of people are asking for face-to-face where I am. And that's another thing that is a little bit, I can't get there. It's really, really tricky. But this is maybe not, this is just something that's to me.
It is relevant. It is relevant.
And whenever I'm trying to apply, whenever I'm trying to secure some work, any work, QTS, QTLS, key to QTS, and I really, really cannot even break in, and I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. I've got qualifications, but it's that little QTS or such, but it's just a massive barrier. And I'm going to go for QTLS anyway, but I just don't, I just get a bit discouraged. I thought I can do that. Oh no, I can do it. Oh no. You know what I'm saying? That's me. Sorry.
So true. So authentic. you're saying that it's not,
Mm.
you know, student demand and that kind of thing. It's that sense of I can, and then there's another barrier, and I pull myself up. And your roller coaster is, how long does it take you to pull yourself up? How long does it take you to experience the next disappointment?
Definitely.
And that's a hard place to be.
It's mad. I've got so much. I mean, I've been in education for 30 years.
Yeah.
54, and I'm thinking, I've got all this, the postgrad, the blah blah blah, but it just doesn't seem to be enough. I need to probably find a niche.
Mm.
I don't know. You know, it's tricky, but I'm here.
Well,
So-
Mel, just pick up what Margaret Mary's just put in the
Mhm.
chat there. She says, I can't get there either, but I say, if you can
Oh.
come to me, I'll do face to face. And again, that's coming from a really, really confident place.
Wow.
Yeah, this is what I
Wow.
can do. This is what I can't do.
Mm.
And I know that there will be enough students for me to serve
Yeah.
within what I can. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine, so when we first had our first member check-in a while ago, you said something that was really remarkable to me about how you blend one-to-one and online tutoring. And it wasn't that, you know, I'm sorry, and online schools. And it wasn't that other people aren't doing that. It's that you've learned to do that for really specific reasons. Do you want to just unpack that a bit?
Yeah, so I only work 100% online now, although I used to do face-to-face, because, well, the main reason for going 100% online is that my husband had COVID really badly, and the thought of me exposing myself to lots of germs and then bringing them home, I just thought I can't do it, so I switched to completely online. So I teach for an online school, and I do one-to-one tuition online. But I think what's relevant to this whole conversation is my philosophy is for some time has been, don't rely on one income stream. Try and develop other things that you do. And it's not just about smoothing out the peaks and troughs of income, because if you can manage it, you can do lots of work over 10 months of the year, for example, and earn your year's money in that 10 months. And then you've got the resources to cover you for the other two. So I think for me, it's all about having income from different sources. And as I said to someone the other day, if you lose one of those sources of income, it's not the end of the world, because you've got 3 or 4 or maybe 5 or 6 other sources of income. So
Do you want to unpack what some of those are? And then I'm going to ask you to tell us how your balance last year was different to this year. I remember that it's shifted a lot because of the demand from the online schools being different. So, but first tell us what those different streams are.
So I teach for an online school, and they have a sister company that does access courses online. So I've started tutoring those as well. I do the private tuition. Some of it is through I think there's 2 agencies I use mainly, but some of the work comes through agencies. A lot of it comes from word of mouth, because I've been tutoring for a long time. I do exam marking for 3 different boards, and I also do some content writing for one of them. I think, oh yeah, and I do some work for Claire Wilshire's National Tutors as well.
And so all of these are different aspects or different sort of modalities of your subject, which is
Maths.
Okay. We like you anyway. I've got a war on maths at the moment. I am
All right.
for more humanities tutors. I'm joking.
I can see a few other maths people in the room here.
Way too many. We are STEM heavy. It's okay. Nicola and I are going to balance it out. So so what I wanted to hear from you now is how each year looks different in that blend.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Well, you told me that this year the online school wanted more, so you did less tutoring.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit less tutoring. Yeah,
So you have this sort of dial it up, dial it down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose I have an idea in my mind of what my maximum hours of work are in that sort of 10 months when I expect to earn my year's money. I'd I'd like the balance to be a bit better, so I'm not quite so reliant on the school income, because I I don't want to. So if I lost that, for example, then that would be painful. But if I lost any of the others, it wouldn't matter. So
Right,
what I
because it's
what I
one
try
big
and
client. Yeah.
yeah, so what I try and aim for is to have a fairly good balance of income sources. I mean, you can't always manage that, but
Yeah.
that's the aim, so that
Yeah.
nothing is catastrophic if it disappears.
Yeah, so that's fantastic, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's sort of mitigating risk. I am
yeah,
binge watching Dragon's Den at the moment, and you know, they there was somebody on yesterday. When I say yesterday, I mean it was whenever it was. I watched it yesterday. Um, who had 50% of her business was coming through one TikTok video that went viral. And of course, Stephen Bartlett said, well, that's good until it's not good. Because when people turn away from that viral video onto the next thing, you're high and dry. So, you
yeah,
know, your equivalent with online schools really makes a lot of sense to me. I would have thought, well, you know, the admin is much lower when you're working for the online school, as long as their rates are good and it's sort of a steady stream of work. So maybe that's better. But you're saying if you lose that one, it decimates your income. So in terms of
Right.
managing your risks as a freelancer, that becomes really, really interesting. Thank you so, so much. Now, I've not yet heard from Helen, who's croaking, and Jenna, who's off screen. Helen, I can see you're reaching for the mute button. Okay. The thing you need to know about Helen is that firstly, we keep her in her own little germy box there, so she can't cough on the rest of us because of Claudine's husband. But also, Helen's got young kids at home. So you are balancing the extreme needs of exam burdened students with your own little people and their own terms and holidays and the germs that they bring home, and actually being a human being as well.
My children are humans.
You're human. Let's start with that. But it does tend to run in the family.
Madness. Madness runs in the family. Let's go with that. Yeah, there's definite seasons to tutoring. There's definite seasons in family life, aren't there?
Yeah.
And many of us went into tutoring because it provided more flexibility around our families. But at the same time, the hours, I mean, we've got the holidays off, but not always. It does mean a dip. It does mean that dip in the income over the holidays if you don't have an alternative form of income during that bit. Yeah, managing two roller coasters that don't necessarily go together.
Yeah, they don't. And I wonder whether, you know, when your kids are in secondary school, is that going to be, I think the peaks and the troughs are going to be even more extreme, because you're going to have your own kids' studying needs. And I know that one of them is a mega mathematician and the other one is bouncing off the walls. So I know there are still walls. So
Wow.
let me ask you a slightly different question though, because I don't want to work you too hard. I remember at the end of last summer term, or around exam period, so halfway through last summer term, all the exam prep tutors were tearing their hair out because of all the last minute student requests. The feeling that I want to be able to accommodate you. I should really accommodate you because I know that my income's going to dry up for the year in a minute. And I'm frustrated with you because you're asking too much too fast. And there's a limit to how many hours I have in my day. So that becomes a real tension point in your year, Helen.
Yeah. Yeah, the sort of mid-May to mid-June last minute chaos. I'm trying to prevent that a little bit this year by I've already started asking parents. Might not have asked you yet.
The answer is yes.
No, I have. I've asked Rena about the Easter holidays. So if I've started asking that now, then I'm ahead of time. So yeah, there will always be a tension and a battle in those summer months for exam tutors because it is the busiest time of our year. It's the sort of the crunch point we've got to. And we do want to earn in those months when we know that July and August will be more sparse. So yeah, doing it, but trying to plan ahead a little bit now so that
Yeah.
the questions are asked, so there's less of the last minute.
Yeah.
Get it all
I've
in.
seen that as well. And I hope you don't mind. There's one more element that you've got in your planning and seasons at the moment, which is a specific health thing that's going to put you out of action for a bit.
Yes.
And
yes.
again, that's your being a human and having your own seasons. Go ahead.
Yes, so I'm booked in for minor surgery in a couple of weeks' time, which is going to take me out for at least a week, maybe two. Probably could have been a worse time of the year, but not by a lot. I mean, if I'd have done it in September, it would have been a lot nicer. But hey ho, that's where we are, and yeah, that's got to come first. My health and
Nice.
that. And thankfully, most of the parents have been nice enough to go, okay, just take the time that you need, and we'll work around it. And
I hope that most parents told you 1 week is not reasonable. You should take 2.
that was me that said I'm going to take one.
Yeah, I know. I know because
And
because of the pressure.
yeah, so I phrased it to parents that I'm taking one, and we'll see how it goes. I might need to take two, giving themselves options, and it is what it is. There's nothing I can do to change it. That's the date that surgery's come through for. Yeah,
But because it's planned, you at least are able to plan around it. So Margaret Mary, you said earlier that it's a real hassle when you have a crash because of the knock-on effect of letting people down and the admin of rescheduling them and all of that, right?
Yeah, I'm because I work out how many students I can take a day on a bad day. Difference between a good day and a bad day. On a good day, I might work in the office in my study at the desk with the bigger screens. On a bad day, or as it's happening morning and evenings, I work here from the sofa. So I've got 2 screens, mini mock-up sofa desk. And I very rarely have to cancel students. I had to do it the other Monday. And I thought it was me, I'd done too much physical stuff, but the fact that I've had sinusitis over the last few days, it's like, no, I was fighting an infection. So that's the other thing with this is that the difference between a bad day and actually being ill is not always clear. But I'm not having any more students than I can do on a bad day. That's my maximum limit.
Yeah.
And that's where I draw the line. Usually in the first term, I go from my minimum to optimum. Now I'm at my absolute maximum, and I won't do any more than that. Very rarely. And I do have to be careful of it this year because, as Helen says, in that lead up to the exams. Because my calendar's open, last year I was sometimes I was ending up with 6 lessons a day, and my maximum is 4. My optimum is 3, to be honest. Maximum is 4. And already I am thinking I need to now be blocking my calendar when I've already got 4 students in place. I haven't done that yet, but I have blocked time out during the day when I'm not doing anything. At least 2 hours a day, but I think I know where my limit is, and it's my responsibility not to be pushed over that.
Oh, I'm so happy you
Even
said
though
that.
the exams are big, so I don't. And if I do take on an extra, it's by negotiation, and I close it down. So during the holidays, I will still try and keep to a limit of maximum of 4 a day.
Yeah.
And not allow the students to book in unless someone else is cancelled.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. So I want to reflect back to you that piece about I thought it was my fault, but actually I had sinusitis, right? And how you said just at the end there about, and I take responsibility for my health and keeping myself on an even keel. Goodness me, how much pressure we put on ourselves. But absolutely, you are the asset in your business, and you do need to look after yourself. I at the suggestion of our wonderful Emma Harper, tried the Motion app again recently. And I set up for the free subscription. I opened it, I got overwhelmed, and I closed it and cancelled the subscription. That's how long it took. Because for me, task lists don't work. I am a one thing at a time kind of person. That's all I can do. But what Helen's just said, and you said as well about booking out the white space in your calendar, feels really, really interesting, and taking responsibility by ring fencing in the same way that Melanie was saying, I can't get to you. Yeah, that's my boundary. But it does get really, really interesting when you set up your boundaries and your students start flowing within that in a way that works well, or your clients, if you could say, if that's a combination of different. So Jenna, I'm coming to you. And then I'm going to ask Nicola, I've given her a little bit of warning already, to start pulling on some threads and asking some questions, because you're in this lovely position of being able to learn what different types of tutors are doing. So Jenna, over to you. And sorry, hold on a second. I always make an assumption with you that you focus on home ed, and therefore you have different routines and cycles. And of course, we know that your own health needs are factored into that as well. But what I really want to hear from you is that whole great big ramble of insights that you throw on us that becomes really, really juicy. So go for it.
I don't know if I necessarily have the cognition for a bunch today, but I find it really, really interesting listening to these conversations today, because I think it's reminded me of especially I spoke to my foster mum for the first time in a while yesterday, and she reminded me of how much I want to say yes to everything, and I want to do all of the things, and it doesn't matter how high of a dose of ADHD medication I am on or how much sleep medication I take. I am always going, and I have so many ideas all the time, and I don't take holidays off. I find it really, really hard to take even a day off. And at the moment, with various things that have happened over the past couple of months, it's really highlighted to me that isn't sustainable. Like I'm very chronically ill. I'm very disabled. I have all of the neurospices. This is my retired life. I retired from politics and I was a CEO of a charity, and I left London to retire and try and focus on my health, and ended up carrying on tutoring and picking it back up. And I do a decent amount of home ed. That means that terms look different for me. The school year structure that we have as like the standard in the UK doesn't work for most people. It causes burnout and crashes, and you often don't get to use your holidays if you have them off. For a lot of families and teachers, that also means that's when you get ill. That's when you get to do your admin and your marking and your hospital appointments or your doctor's appointments or whatever it is, right? And that isn't sustainable. So for me, it varies year to year quite significantly. But this year was the first year that I wasn't teaching throughout the Christmas holidays. I have had so many years in the last decade specifically where I was even teaching on Christmas Day.
Oh,
with
nice.
kids. Yeah, there was a time where I turned up to the house and the entire family from all over the country and abroad were at this house, and I was teaching the two cousins. Oh my God, it was absolute chaos on
But
Christmas Day.
Jenna, that's also not sustainable for the young people.
No, it's not. And I think in that particular instance, it would have been okay had I realised that they actually celebrated Christmas.
Okay.
If they weren't celebrating Christmas, it would make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, that's true. You can come to us on Christmas, but not on Boxing Day, because we go to my mother-in-law's because it's my brother's in-law's birthday. But
Ooh.
I think that so we go all in on the festivals over here, the festivals that are relevant to us.
Mm.
And I often think that, and having worked in a faith school, I often think that they act as punctuation
Yes.
in our
Yeah.
year, you know, the weekly cycles, the monthly cycles, the annual cycles. They create these sort of really healthy phrases in our
Yes.
lives, and
Exactly.
in sort of a musical sense. And so taking away a Christmas break doesn't feel healthy at all when you say, you know, and you use that word sustainability also. And I think you've really come to an important crux of what it is we need to talk about with the seasonality, is that we need to find ways to navigate the seasonality of our specific tutoring context in order for it to be sustainable. And what and Margaret Mary and Helen and Claudine are reflecting here are their own versions of sustainability.
And I do think it's about utilizing it as well. Like you can, I did a whole bunch of research into why our school year is planned out the way it is and things like that, and other factors that should be taken into account of natural cyclical rhythms. Obviously, for me, I focus a little bit more on the neurodivergent rhythms and the cycles, but it works for everyone.
Yeah.
And like I've taken into account different faiths and different the way that weather patterns can sometimes impact as well, and how we build in that sort of thing, but also building in balance for chaos, because you need, like we talk about it, we need people like you and I need a certain level of chaos as our optimum, right? We can't not.
I feel so seen right now.
Exactly. And I think that has to be taken into account. And I mean, so there are two things I think that have really playing in my head right now. One is that I have major surgery coming up later this year that is going to theoretically have me out for a couple of months.
Oh, wow.
I'm having open abdominal surgery, and that is massive, and I have loads of health complications that make that even more challenging. And for most people, they normally say it's, I think, about a month to 6 weeks off work completely that they tend to prescribe. But for me, it's probably going to be closer to 3 months, and it could be as much as a year until I'm actually recovered and able to do normal things again. But that's really hard to plan for, and that's terrifying.
And what
And
happens to your students who, you know, spend every day with you because you've got those intense relationships? How are you
some
planning?
kids that I see 7 days a week.
Yeah. So how will they cope? And how do
Exactly.
they cope when you're laid up?
So it depends. One of the things that my mother-in-law always says is that when you're doing anything, when you're planning out your schedule, when you're figuring out what your capacity is, always reserve some capacity, whether it's 10% or 20% of your capacity, as much as you can at all times, for the shiny things, for being ill, for really cool things that come along,
Oh,
for
nice.
doing
Also
fun
good
stuff.
stuff. Yes.
Yeah. Because like you might have a student that comes along that you really, really want to take on, and if you haven't left a little bit of capacity to do even like so I mentioned earlier, a flexible slot, then you've kind of almost screwed yourself over, and you're going to be like what ifing forever, right?
That's
And I
really
think
interesting.
that's kind of part of it all in
It's like a little
preparing for.
wild card.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Capacity for a wild card. Yeah.
Nice, really nice. Okay, I thank you. I need to pull on Nicola here because I've given her this sort of remit of question asking, but there's only 12 minutes. So no pressure, off you go.
I'm sure if I have any other questions, there'll be plenty of opportunity for me to like follow up with people anyway. So I just would rather kind of reflect back. Just what I'm hearing. I really appreciate everyone's honesty, vulnerability. I like how our conversation about the seasonal changes has naturally led to a notion of like well-being and self-care, and I'm always like loving to think and talk about that. The book I recommended on the chat is Wintering, and it's an autobiography, but it's about a woman who like basically has a breakdown and has to like build herself back up from that. But it's also kind of an anthropological look at how different cultures rest and lean into seasonal change. So I like always think about that book in these types of moments. Yeah, I suppose the actual question I had in my mind was like, basically, I suppose I'm just thinking about different things off the back of what everyone's talked about. Definitely health is something that's really important to me, and I am conscious that I don't want to go from the burnout cycle of secondary school teaching to like just a whole new burnout cycle. So that's just a reflection off the back of what everyone said. But I do feel like I've had some tips and kind of nudges in the right direction off the back of the conversation. The main thing that I'm a bit stuck on is like the GCSE pressure crunch time, seemingly the biggest time for work availability. And I just don't know if anyone's got any guidance on, like, it seems like there's lots of different streams of income and different ways that we could go about it. I myself am interested in curriculum development, and that's an avenue that I'm going to explore in more detail. But in terms of like getting tutoring clients that aren't just in the GCSE pressure, I love working with Key Stage 3. I love working with younger years and having that chance to like, I don't, I suppose me as a person and what I want for my business model is I don't want to live in the hurry pressure zone. I would love to, and I don't even know if this is possible, but I would love to build a business model that is about like patience and building learning over time and kind of like strategy and moving out of the panic zone that I feel like I've lived in with year 11s. So I don't know if anyone can speak to that at all.
Goodness me, we all can, and you've made us all really glad that you're here, because you absolutely speak our language, and that's, you know, really affirming, and it gives us that sense that, you know, Dee and I had a back and forth this week, and I told her how much I appreciate her, and Dee said that having been on this journey of growing and then being able to pay it forward feels like a privilege. So that's definitely the vibe that we're feeling in this room right now. So I would like to reflect to you that Georgina, who wasn't able to join us today, you know, has this love-hate relationship with exams that you've just described here, and sort of cause them, you know, that they sort of ruin the subject, don't they? And I'd love to also point you to the students who are struggling to attend school, those Key Stage 3 students. You know, I have one of them at home, who, you know, it's amazing. This year 8 son of mine he's living his best life right now, because he just is learning the things that he wants to learn about. So Claire, who you need to get in touch with because she wants you to help her develop resources, and I'll ping you about that afterwards. Claire is working on him. She did the first block of 10 sessions completely off-piste. Each thing was something that he wanted to learn in science. Sometimes it was explosions. Mostly it's explosions, to be honest. But now she says after 10, Helen's nodding because she knows him well. Now he's finished his first 10 blocks. He is far calmer. And now they're doing half an hour of GCSE content and half an hour of off-piste personal exploration. And that confidence to go off and then come back, you know, it really speaks to that patience that you were saying today. I'd also love to remind you that it's really, really important in this space to understand who you are as a tutor and what you bring to your students, so that you find those ideal clients and they stay with you and you can be really successful. And what you just described there is something really unique, of a patient approach to learning that, you know, that is good for people, good for children and good for adults. And that can really become a niche that that is really compelling for parents. So you know, getting out of this rat race cycle that we push children through becomes something that is a really compelling offer that puts well-being at the center. I do want to open out to the whole group in a second for a quick takeaway, but I want to let you know that the bit at the front of my book, which is escaping, here it is. So what's this called? Is this the preface? Is this what's this called when you put quotes from other people as preface, right? So I put a quote from Ken Robinson about individualized learning, and then I put a quote from Seth Godin, which says, instead of wondering when your next vacation is, maybe you should set up a life you don't need to escape from. And you know, not against vacations, we love a vacation, but certainly if you can build a life that you don't feel is bad for you or that you feel is good for you, then what a winner, what a well spent life that will be. So here are the takeaways. My question to you is, on reflection, Dee said that when we started out this conversation, when she started out in tutoring, she hadn't spent time thinking about this seasonality. And I put in the chat, well, that's why we do what we do here. We help out each other with the thinking of it. So what are your reflections on the seasonality of your tutoring context? Are you happy with the way that you have mitigated the risks of it? And is it currently working for you? I think is the question. Claudine, can I call on you first? Don't forget to unmute first.
Sorry. Yes, I think it is currently working for me. Yeah, so I used to worry about having the summer months off. So I used to teach summer schools, but now I've decided that actually it suits me better to try and earn my income in 10 months and then have 2 months, most of which is in the summer when I do next to nothing. Tutoring wise.
I bet you tidy some cupboards, don't you?
Well, no, I didn't
No?
last summer. No.
Much respect to that. I hope you get a chance to travel as well. That's a lovely place to start. Thank you, because even with the adjustments that you're making in your routine, that puts you in a really strong place. Margaret Mary, you're next.
Yes, and yes.
Good.
Yes, I am happy, and yes, it is working for me. And the other big takeaway is how individual we all are as tutors. So as a tutor, I am very exam focused because that's why they come to me, because they want to improve their grades. But I really like that other people are not, and they're doing something different. And I think I put in the chat earlier, it's about autonomy. And I think that's true. If we are the creators of our own business, and it's who we are, what we do, what's important to us, and the people that we work with. And one thing I took, and we're going to put this in because it had quite a big impact on me from the first Love Tutoring Festival. On one of the workshops, I think it was you that said it, Julia. You said, we are not trying to tutor the world. And when I heard that, I was just like, I relaxed. I was just like, yeah, I only need however many students I need, and the rest of them are not my clients. And I think that's the big thing. The other thing today is everyone's doing something different. And it's like, and that's okay, they're not my clients.
Yeah, I really appreciate you reflecting that back to me. Thank you. I think it's really lovely that we get these opportunities to explore how other people do things, because there are so many right ways. And we're not in Dragon's Den. You know, I keep wincing when I hear them. They say, the dragons say, and what's your big goal? And every single person says, world domination. And you think to yourself, you know, how many movies do you have to watch to realize, you know, that world domination does not bring you happiness? And maybe a little bit of maturity and adjustment will give you a life that makes a lot more sense than that. And if Deborah Meaden doesn't want to invest, I'm fine with that. So I'm obsessed. So Mel, you're next.
Glad to be back, as I said. Because my hip replacements come in probably summertime, this time I'm going to take to really think what I can do, think out the box. I do BTEC standards verification, and I have done that for 3 years, but there's me thinking that's different. I'm like making them into a difference, but that's basically part of what I do. So it gives me, like when Claudine said about, having different things. I think that would suit me. I might be off for 6 months with my hip, but I can plan and I can prep and I can get myself a bit stronger on maths and see what happens.
Well done, you. That's fantastic. Helen.
So always get stronger on maths. Definitely always get stronger on maths. And it needs to be more protective over my white space.
Nice. Really nice. Jenna?
I need to get better at giving myself permission to take breaks, to take time off, and to not see my students all day, every day.
Beautiful. Dee?
That comment about we're not trying to tutor the world, and I had the picture of the boy on the beach throwing starfish into the sea one at a time, millions of starfish washed up on the beach. And a guy says to him, well, all of these starfish, what difference can you make? And he chucks one in the sea and says, well, I made a difference to that one. And the ripple effect, we don't know the difference we're making to the rest of the world by the differences we're making in the lives of our students.
Absolutely right. I've been reflecting on that starfish metaphor because I first heard it from a head teacher who didn't deliver, who really, promised the world and didn't deliver in a school that I was involved with. And I was so disappointed. But that story it should be obvious to us that every single person is a world, and mass anything is something that is just, it's not the 80s anymore. Let's just be humans and serve humans. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I always do. And that's because of what you guys bring. I don't know if you know how much I appreciate you, but I really, really do. You are wise and well people, and it's awesome to participate. Thank you. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Claudine. Thank you, Margaret Mary. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Jenna. And thank you so much to those of you who are listening. All the best. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks as well, Delia. Bye-bye.